Welcome to Leadership on the Go, a podcast brought to you by the Cranfield Alumni team, where we speak to former Cranfield students to understand their experience of leadership in real-world situations.
Hi there. Through the brilliance of technology today, I'm sitting in Cranfield, and yet I'm interviewing Dr. Sarah Qureshi, who is sitting in Pakistan. She runs an exciting startup technology product business there, which aims to reduce the negative environmental impact of commercial airline engines. This business was a direct result of her PhD research at Cranfield. She's both a scientist and an entrepreneur. And today she talks about bringing these positions together whilst developing her own team. Why don't we start off with, why don't you tell me a little bit just about your time and memories of Cranfield and your time at Cranfield, and in particular the thoughts about what you learned about leadership at Cranfield.
Cranfield is a place you fall in love with. But it was unique in a way. I think as a postgrad institute, it offered like an advanced level of maturity, I would say, which helps you to step into the professional environment. The transition from the academic environment into the professional environment, I would say, smoother, just because there's more maturity as an institution, just being postgraduate only. And I think they also offered like an interesting blend of academia and industry. I remember we had some teachers coming from the industry to teach us, and they were not necessarily PhDs, but they brought back decades of experience and maybe worth 100 PhDs or worth 10 PhDs if they had gained that experience in a formal manner. And another thing that I took from Cranfield was that, one, it did have like this input from the industry, and then secondly, they emphasized on the societal impact of your research and of your work, and the commercial promise that it entails, because my supervisor was the first one to highlight this to me. He said that your research or your work does have commercial promise, so it should be taken further.
How does being an entrepreneur affect how you lead and manage your own team?
First of all, you need to provide a vision. And then secondly, to generate that enthusiasm and to get everybody to relate to that passion, I would say, or to that goal. Because as people say, I've heard a lot of people who work with numbers, they say that entrepreneurship starts as a game of passion, but then the game of passion doesn't go very far on its own. Then you need to bring in those numbers, and you need to bring in that money to take it forward. But then the origin is your vision and your passion, and that's where the concept of leadership comes in. And then secondly, as a leader, you have to bring about the best from others. You need to tap on their potential and to recognize, because a lot of times there are a lot of people who don't even realize their own strengths. So you need to recognize those strengths, as they say, read between the lines, and then bring that out of them. And then obviously you need to expand your horizons, your vision, your objectives. It's like, if you want to grow. And then also, as a leader, it's important to make sure that every person in your team grows, because, when you grow or your team grows, your company grows, your idea grows. And this is something I felt when I was doing my PhD with my supervisor, Professor Pilidis. It was a challenging PhD for me because, I was at times working overseas as well. I had my baby daughter during my PhD. I had to move. My husband was in Pakistan. I was in UK. I had to look after her. I had to, at times move back to Pakistan, work from here. but he was very, very supportive. And secondly, I realized that he makes sure that everybody in the department grows. He supports their potential, and he facilitates their growth. And that's why the department itself is growing, because when everybody in the department grows, the department grows. So that's, I think, one lesson I learned there, that I have to ensure that every single member of my team grows and recognizes their potential.
And how do you make sure that happens? As I would imagine the day-to-day struggle is tough as an entrepreneur. There's always lots of priorities. So how do you make sure that every person in your team grows?
I wouldn't know how to quantify it, but the way people are, usually the conflict or the clash is usually a clash of personalities. Or rather the personality type. It's like people come with different perspectives and obviously different biases as well. And then there is, maybe there's the communication lag. They're unable to get their perspective across, and also to understand another person's perspective. So it's just that we don't have a very big team, but obviously I start with encouragement and growth and confidence building. And with people, I try to highlight their strengths to them and to others, and then also making them realize that what you are doing is important, it is unique, it is you. If I could quote an example here, like I have, in our team, we have some people who are on the computer, they do a lot of office work and maybe simulations and research. And then we have staff which is working on the machine. They have a skill set, and they work on manual machines and they work on automatic machines. And sometimes they mention that we can't run those sophisticated simulations on computer, or they can't go into deep research. I tell them, no, what you are doing is unique. You have a skill in your hand. You've got skillful hands, and that is rare, and that is important, and that's wonderful. I mean, that's unique, and it is equally important to the company. I mean, if we are making products, we need skillful workers. We just don't need people who are sitting in the office. I won't be able to make an engine like that. So all those things, everybody is important, all professions are important, everybody's contribution is very important. You need to make them like a part of it, that they have to, like I say that, initially when I was doing my PhD, I used to say, like, your PhD is like your baby, or your thesis is like your baby. You create it, and you give so much of yourself to it. And then now I say that this company is our baby, and the product that we are making is our baby, and it's everybody's baby. It's not just my baby, it's my entire team's baby, because they're all putting in that effort into it.
Yeah.
So they have to own it, they have to connect it, everybody needs to be associated with the team, with the company, with pride, I would say. I think this landscape is now changing, because we have more of this the entrepreneurship landscape. So the business training is not geared for entrepreneurship, it's geared for corporates. And in the modern world now, they say that it's not about being big or small, it's about the big will not eat the small, the fast will eat the slow. So the size of your organization does not matter, but how aggressive you are and how quickly you adapt to changing scenarios, that's what counts.
Agreed.
So I think your perspective on leadership also fits into this category very well.
That's really interesting. Tell me a little bit more about being a leader.
I think with leadership, it's also that you need perseverance. I mean, real life situations and real life scenarios are, I mean, this is all beautiful, like, the vision and the association, all that, but then you need perseverance, and then one also has to take the pain to oversee every detail, and every task that I assign to the team. I mean it makes a difference. My level of involvement makes a difference to it, because sometimes a lot of people think that as a CEO it's not your job, and even a lot of people in leadership roles, they feel that at the bottom of the pyramid it's not your job. But that's what I felt, that it makes so much difference from the level of involvement that you provide if you take the pain to oversee. I mean, obviously, but then there's a very critical balance. You have to delegate authority. You cannot grow if you are a control freak, or if you want to keep everything under your control. So I feel that growth is only possible if you do delegate authority and responsibility. Just overlooking things and assigning a task and then assuming that everything would be sorted out perfectly, that doesn't help give your team confidence to take a challenge and make them understand the bigger cause, and they must have clarity, and able to look into the future, challenging perceptions as well. By default we are like trained into thinking in a particular direction. And then of course the adaptability to change, that's also a very important factor to consider for yourself as well as for your team.
And again, that's a really interesting one. The question of adaptability just came up on something else this morning for me. How do you how do you create that adaptability in your team members?
One thing that we do practice is try to avoid repetition and monotony. The team is trained across a number of tasks, because that comes, I think, naturally into startups as well. Like one person has to wear many hats.
Yeah.
And then, but even with the skilled workers and everything, we don't try to confine them to a particular machine or a particular design. So there's like a job rotation. And then secondly, also letting them think on it, in the sense that, you invite ideas from everybody who's part of the team, and you invite criticism, you invite ideas, you invite suggestions, and everybody's feedback is welcome. And sometimes they're very useful, because obviously the person who's like more deeply involved in developing the product, or somebody who's looking at one part and he's like the whole day he's working on one part, obviously that person understands it much better than you do.
Yeah.
So and inviting feedback from that person is equally important as well.
Yeah.
I mean, as an example, my daughter named my company, and probably because she was around, when I was at Cranfield, she was around 4, and she used to accompany me to a lot of places.
Yeah.
And I think she always heard mom talking about her work and projects and whatever. So when I was starting this company, so I was discussing with my husband what I should name the company, and she came with a long list of relevant names. And we picked one. And then when he asked her, what do you know about Mama's project? She said, I'm not giving it away. So she even understood that, this is something that, you have to be conscientious about it. And then she mentioned that now that you've set up a company, you need to push the money up and form a team. So as we were talking about invisible learning and the deep involvement, so that's very important, that you have participation.
Yeah, the entire team. That's a great, lovely example. Just as a 4-year-old, she was able to see that happening around her. Fantastic. Everybody's got stories to learn from. Everybody is a leader. in some way, shape or form. So the two basic core skills of coaching are listening and asking questions. Now, we all listen and we all ask questions, right? But very few of us have actually trained ourselves to do that. You have the essence of a coach in you because you said your role is about bringing the best out in others, tapping into their potential, helping them recognize their own strengths. Well, those words are exactly what coaching is about. So, I mean, a classic scenario in coaching is for someone to say at the beginning, I can't do something, I don't know how to do presentations. I don't know, but something they'll say. And then later on, you'll say to them, no, you've just shown me that you can do presentations. You've just given me an example. So actually you can do presentations. And it is just that activity of drawing people's attention to things, which builds their confidence. Again, you referred to that earlier, and allows them to grow. And that's the essence of coaching. Well, thank you very much, Sarah. That's been really, really good. You have a wonderful rest of day and we'll be in touch.
Thanks so much for listening today. Many of the ideas that we discuss on these podcasts link directly to my book with Jenny Robinson. It's called Coaching on the Go and is published by the Financial Times and imprint of Pearson. If you'd like to learn more about me or about Jenny, please be sure to visit our website, www.coachingonthego.co.uk, or you can just jump on Amazon and search for Coaching on the Go, where you'll find our book.
Thank you for listening along with us. If you'd like to hear more episodes like this, you can find Leadership on the Go on cranfield.ac.uk/alumni, where you can browse our complete archive and check out new episodes.